everyone. So, a few weeks ago, or at least a recent video that I did, was talking about Rori Raye and her coaching certification program, which has been running since around about 2014. And which I was part of her community at the time that she launched this program. And she has certified a whole bunch of coaches to teach her methods since then. Um, and I think this for me was kind of when I first started seeing issues with her advice and this kind of feminine energy dating advice in general. But it took me quite a long time to kind of fully wake up from it. I would consider myself to have been very brainwashed by this type of advice for quite a long time. And if you ever wonder why I am speaking out about these dating coaches, why I dissect what they're saying, and why I'm making videos about them, it's because I believe they are perpetrating a lot of harm against women in particular, but male dating coaches that target men are a whole different genre all on their own, and they're doing a lot of harm as well. I think dating coaches in general do a lot more harm than good. And because my experience was primarily with these feminine energy dating coaches, I do want to talk about them. Obviously, I talk about Matthew Hussey on my channel as well. I think he is very problematic in his own right. But feminine energy dating coaches, I just think are, oh gosh, it makes me so sad and angry and upset to think about what they are doing to women with the advice that they are pushing out there. And so, because I recently talked about Rori Raye's coaching certification program, I thought it might be a good idea to look at one of her certified coaches just to see what kinds of advice these coaches are putting out there. Now, there are a lot of Rori Raye certified coaches out on the general dating coach scene, and you might not be able to recognize them because, for whatever reason, a lot of them don't openly state that they were originally trained by Rori Raye. But I just happen to know that this coach in particular was trained by Rori Raye because she was one of those first, kind of one of the early coaches that Rori Raye trained. And I was around in the community at the time when this particular coach that I'm going to talk about today was kind of learning and coming up and being trained. And I think she is a very good example of toxic feminine energy dating advice. Um, and the reason this concerns me so much is because this kind of advice can keep women trapped and stuck in very toxic loops in their love lives for long periods of time. And of course, I think that the underlying reason for that is to keep these women buying coaching, buying products, buying books, buying courses from these coaches. It's to keep the coaching industry alive. And it's not necessarily to they're not necessarily that concerned with how much success you're having in your dating life. I think, if you do happen to have success with this sort of advice, it's almost kind of like a bonus, or it's kind of a happy chance if you're able to kind of take this very convoluted advice and put it into practice in a way that works for you. I'm not saying that that's impossible, but I think for far too many women, and certainly for myself and for women that I befriended in the feminine energy dating community, it kept us trapped in very, very toxic cycles, and it led to very, very unhealthy thought patterns, and poor self-worth and chronic self-doubt. And I just hope that by looking at these videos, by analyzing them, by critiquing them, I can show you how this happens, because it becomes very almost what's the word? The videos kind of, if you listen to enough of them, what you'll notice is that they sort of become like very monotonous and trance-like, and the coaches' voices are kind of very soothing, and they're telling you these pieces of information that they're presenting as if they're fact, and kind of conditioning you to just accept what they're saying without questioning it too much and without questioning how they came to those conclusions. Where's the research? Where's the science to back up what they're saying? Where's the evidence? What makes them an expert in what they're saying? Who are they to be giving this sort of advice? What are their motives? What are their intentions? What are they really trying to achieve? These are all the sorts of questions I would like people to be asking when they listen to coaches like this. So this coach is Sami Wunder. She is a Rori Raye certified coach, as I mentioned. She has a YouTube channel, and she puts out this feminine energy dating content, talking about how women are supposed to be with men, how they're supposed to be in dating, how they're supposed to be in marriage and relationships. And although she presents it as if this is beneficial to women, as if she has women's best interests at heart, as if this is something that is kind of very positive and almost authentic, um, I think as soon as you scrape away the top few layers of the advice, you very quickly see how this is actually leading women away from their true selves, away from their power, away from their authenticity. And I have a huge problem with it because it's encouraging, as with a lot of the feminine energy dating advice that I've looked at here on my channel, it's encouraging women to blame themselves when relationships don't work out or when there are problems in relationships, and to take um, kind of disproportionate responsibility for any issues and problems, and for the um, to take on the burden of single-handedly solving whatever relationship problems is going on, and to make her think that she actually has the power to to fix this relationship and turn it into some kind of wonderful relationship where she's going to be loved and cared for and looked after. And why do they do this? It's because they need these women to believe that the flaw and the fault lies with them, and that it's something that they themselves can fix, and that they just need to keep buying more products and coaching and courses and books, and find whatever is broken within themselves in order to fix their relationship. That is the underlying motive. I bought into this to an extent. The women that I knew in the groups that I was a part of bought into this. Luckily, I sort of had certain kind of, I think, fail safes in my mind, which prevented me from spending too much money on coaches or coaching products. Or books from these people. I'm not someone who's necessarily predisposed to think of someone as some kind of all-knowing expert, but a lot of people are. A lot of people have been primed by their lives and by society in general to look up to coaches like this as experts and to really believe that they know what they're talking about and that they can help them. And they will buy these books and courses and products in the belief that this will give them the answers to, whatever is going wrong in their relationships and dating lives. And this is preying on a very deep need and a very deep kind of desire that we have as human beings to be loved, to be connected to one another, to be in happy relationships. This is a very core human need. It's a very natural, normal thing to want. And for people who are, haven't quite achieved that for whatever reason, coaches like this who come along and claim to have the answer and who claim to be able to give it to you for the right price, of course, are very alluring. And I certainly know for myself, when I was going through any sort of heartbreak or relationship difficulty, I would often consume videos like this from this coaches like this for hours and hours on end. I would have it playing on a loop. I would watch some of their videos, half a dozen times, looking for any kind of nuggets of wisdom or things that I might be missing that I could implement to try and fix whatever situation I was in. And it doesn't give me great pleasure to say this. This is not this is a time I look back on in my life with kind of sadness, and I I can see now how, yeah, yeah, I mean, it is kind of brainwashing to an extent, and it does keep people trapped to an extent as well, and believing this nonsense, and as if they just can consume enough content that they can find the missing piece, and they'll be able to have some kind of miraculous breakthrough in their dating lives and relationships. Um, and so I'm going to be commenting on her video. Her video is roughly 13 minutes long. My commentary video is probably going to be pretty long. All my videos tend to be on the long side. So if you don't enjoy longer style videos, my videos might not be the sort of thing that you might enjoy. But I really enjoy kind of talk. I'm a talkative person when I get going on a topic that interests me. And so this is probably going to be a longish video. I'm going to be stopping it quite a lot to give my commentary because I feel like it's important. I certainly, at the time that I was trapped in this world of feminine energy dating advice, I was not able to see through what the content I was consuming, and I was wondering why I was kind of becoming very anxious and self-doubting, and why I was so hyper focused on worrying about doing the wrong thing, and very just kind of second guessing my every move, which is what this kind of dating advice does. It makes women in particular second guess everything that they say, everything that they do, to think, oh, is this going to be the thing that's going to either make or break my relationship? And the ultimate problem with all of this is that a truly happy relationship, I think a truth that I can speak on is that a truly happy relationship should be one in which you can be yourself and be loved for being yourself. And coaches like this encourage you to put on an act. And you can only put on this act for so long, before you either lose yourself completely or before you just can't do it anymore and you revert back to being who you are anyway. And then the person that you're with might, kind of be like, well, why have you changed all of a sudden? You used to be this person and now you're someone else. And it's just encouraging you to be very inauthentic with your partner, which is not a good path to a happy relationship. A truly happy, loving, satisfying relationship is one in which you can be accepted and loved for who you are, and where you can communicate authentically and openly and honestly. And of course, it takes skills, but as I say, and as I'm probably going to say several times in this video, coaches like this don't encourage you to be authentic. They encourage you to play games, to put on an act, and to talk and behave in a way which is not natural to most people. Um, so what is feminine energy dating advice? If you've stumbled upon this video, you're probably familiar with what feminine energy dating advice is. It's all over the place. If you look for any kind of dating advice, whether it's on YouTube or social media, or just in general out on the internet, you will probably come across feminine energy dating advice in some way, shape, or form. Um, Feminine energy dating advice is a sort of whole genre of dating advice, which talks about masculine and feminine energy, and that women are primarily feminine energy and men are primarily masculine energy. And it talks about men and women in these sorts of very polarized terms, where feminine energy dating proponents believe that men and women have very different ways of approaching relationships, and that they have very different natural behaviors, and that they have very different roles in relationships, and that a woman's role is to be more passive and receiving and emotional and soft and girly, and that a man's role is to be more kind of proactive and assertive and to do more of the providing and to do more of the chasing and to do more of the initiating and paying and, you know, being very kind of stereotypically masculine. And so you can see how this really, really plays into a lot of gender stereotypes. It's very appealing to a lot of people, particularly women who, you know, might, I must say for myself, the reason why feminine energy dating advice appealed to me is because it makes all kinds of promises that if you can just kind of get into your feminine as a woman, you can cause a man to move mountains and cross oceans for you. And that idea of being loved and cared for in that way is appealing to a lot of people, especially maybe people who had certain deficits in their childhood, or who have always dreamed of having a happy, secure relationship. We kind of think, well, that might be nice, without really thinking about what that sort of relationship would actually look like in practice, even if it were to come to being, even if it were to come into reality, which the vast majority of the times it doesn't. But even if that sort of relationship did exist, you really have to ask yourself, how authentic and happy is that relationship going to be really? And in actual fact, coaches like this are not even able to deliver that to their clients or to people who follow their advice. So let's get into the video. I have put her at 1.25 speed because I know normally when I react to videos, it's at normal speed, and I think that can make the video even longer, and it can be heavy going sometimes. So I'm going to put her at 1.25 speed. So this video the title of this video is why he stopped chasing and what you can do to prevent this. So already the title of the video is deeply problematic in my opinion. If we just break it down into its various components, why he stopped chasing. So the supposition or the assumption of this title is that men are supposed to chase women, and that they're supposed to be coming on hot and heavy and strong. And if he doesn't do that, then something is wrong. That's the first assumption that is contained in this video title. The second problematic aspect, what you can do to prevent this, is playing into what I was talking about earlier, giving women the impression and selling women the idea. And make no mistake about it, she is selling something, but selling women the idea that there is something that is within her power to do to somehow control or influence the way a man behaves. So if she can just say and do the right thing, she can actually stop a man from, this undesirable thing of not chasing her. So we're assuming that men are supposed to chase and that this is a good thing, and that if they stop chasing, this means that something is wrong and that it's a bad thing. And that women have some sort of power or control over a man chasing or not chasing. Deeply, deeply problematic ideas. So let's go ahead and get into the video.
In today's video, we're talking about why men stop chasing women and what is it that you can do to make sure this never happens to you again. Now, I know most women think.
So right off the bat, she talks about what you can do to make sure that this never happens to you again. Now, there is no way on planet Earth that she can provide us with that guarantee, because human beings we cannot control what other people do, nor should we try. This is something that I say in a lot of my videos, that these coaches give you the impression that there's something you can do to control or influence the behavior of another person, and you can't. You you of course we all influence one another all day every day, but there are no guarantees. You cannot assure someone that something is or is not going to happen, because so much is out of our control. And we shouldn't seek to control how another person behaves. That should never be something that we seek to achieve. And it's not possible anyway. So please be very, very careful about coaches who use words like this. And they all do, by the way, because that's how they sell their products, that's how they sell their coaching, and that's how they get you to click on their video, using always, never, all men, no one, all these very sort of extreme, exaggerated expressions to get you to buy into the idea that they have the solution that will work all the time, which she doesn't, and she even admits it in this video. But that's how they hook you in.
That men only stop chasing women and stop making an effort for women in dating. But the truth is, I hear it all the time from my clients who are in relationships and even in long term marriages that their man has stopped chasing them, stopped making an effort for them. So today,
So not only do feminine energy dating coaches want you to implement these sorts of manipulative strategies when you are dating, but they expect you to continue to be this way, even in relationships and marriages and beyond. They expect you to continue to implement these kind of tricks and games in order to try and influence, or really to try and control, the man that you're with. Um, Long after the dating and courtship phase is over, and when you're in relationships and marriages as well, you can never relax and just be yourself. Never. You constantly have to worry about, is my man chasing me? Is he doing what he's supposed to do? Am I doing what I'm supposed to do? Have I dropped the ball? Have I become less feminine in some way? This is supposed to continue for your whole life. Now, I don't know about you, but that to me sounds like an absolutely miserable existence.
today we're going to talk about why men chase women so strong at the start and why their effort and their chase starts to slack and reduce over time. And most importantly, what you can do as a woman to make sure this never ever happens to you.
Now, I just want to stop it there, because I think this is something that women have been conditioned to worry about, and to um, you know, this is a natural thing that happens in dating and relationships. You meet someone and you like them and you're very excited about them, and you put a lot of time and effort into communicating and getting to know that person, and hopefully both people are putting the time and effort into communicating and getting to know one another. And so a woman might see a man, really coming on hot and heavy in the beginning, and then potentially that sort of cools off after the first initial, push when you first meet one another. But that is normal. It's normal, once you feel as if you really have a handle on the person that you're in a relationship with or that you're dating, you feel as if you can start to become more comfortable, you can start to be yourself with one another. It's normal for both of you to, for that intensity to die down a little bit after a while. Um, and a lot of men and women notice this, that both people might come on very strong in the beginning, and then things just kind of like calm down. And as I say, very normal if you think about it logically. Once you feel a bit more secure, a bit more comfortable with the other person, it's normal for, no one can keep that sort of intensity up forever. you start to just revert to sort of more of who you naturally are, and that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. But coaches like this kind of generate insecurity and fear about this happening. You know, when you start to notice that shift in a relationship where things do start to kind of calm down or cool down, and you do start to become a bit more comfortable, maybe a little bit more complacent, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But coaches like this need you to believe that it's a bad thing so that they can sell you the solution to fix it. And I bring this up because this is a trap that I fell into when I was part of this whole feminine energy dating world, where I would feel that panic and that fear. You know, if I started dating someone and, you know, the first couple of months were great and everything, you know, was very intense. And then when things started to kind of cool down or calm down, I had these dating coaches' voices in my head making me think that there was something terribly wrong. Whereas in actual fact, it's just a new phase, it's just a new stage of the relationship that you just kind of have to ease yourself into. But coaches like this thrive on fear, and they create insecurity around it. So just want you to be aware of that.
If you're new to my channel, welcome. This is dating and relationship coach Sami Wunder, and for the last 10 years, I've dedicated my life to helping ambitious, strong, successful women attract the provider type of healthy masculine man and create amazing relationships with these men. And if you're a returning YouTube family member, welcome. So happy to have you here. So let's just start first and foremost with why is it that men come strong at the beginning and chase so hard at the beginning? Because this is a question literally every woman asks me. So if you look at evolutionary.
And that's because it happens in virtually every single relationship. As I mentioned, it's a very natural, normal thing that happens with human beings. We put a lot of effort into getting to know someone at the start of a relationship, when we first meet someone. And then, of course, that's going to kind of gradually taper off, and we're going to get into kind of a comfortable rhythm with someone. If you think about starting a new job or any kind of new situation that you would start off with, you are going to have to put in a lot of energy and time and investment in the beginning to get things off the ground, and to learn the new systems and skills that you're going to need in that job. And after a while, hopefully you can just relax into it, and you can get into more of a rhythm and more of a routine. The same thing happens in relationships, and it's not something to fear. It's not something to be paranoid about. It's not something to need to necessarily fix. Doesn't mean something is wrong necessarily. It just means in most cases that you're entering into a new phase of the relationship. Now, could it mean that something is wrong? Well, yeah, sure. Um, I'm no relationship expert, and I just want to make that very clear. I'm just presenting my own thoughts and my own experiences. But like, yes, if someone's efforts are tapering off, that could mean that the relationship isn't going to last. Um, and it could mean that that relationship isn't right. It could mean that something, that there's been some kind of misunderstanding, or you maybe don't want the same thing or whatever. But that's the sort of thing that hopefully can be resolved with healthy communication. And if that person, you know, doesn't want to continue that relationship with you, if they're not the sort of person who's going to put an effort over the long term, is that really someone you actually want to be with? You know, you want to be with someone who is going to care for you and match your efforts, and who really wants the relationship as much as you do. So this is it's not rocket science, but feminine energy dating coaches like this are going to try and distort it to make it seem as if you are doing something wrong, and that there's something that you can learn to do which is going to prevent this from happening, or which is going to reverse this. And it's just yeah, it's very toxic.
Psychology, you will see so much evidence that it is the male of the species, and every species, quite literally, with a very few exceptions, who does the job of impressing the female, who makes an effort.
So, this is an example of one of those claims that dating coaches like this will just throw out there with no scientific research or evidence to back it up. They'll just say, oh, in almost every species, it's the male who does the job of impressing the female. And uh, I don't necessarily know that that is true. I mean, I think that that is the case in a lot of species, but not all species. And the female of the species also has a very important role to play as well. And so, but I just think it's interesting that dating coaches like this will throw out pseudoscience like this to try and bolster and lend credibility to their own claims without providing any sort of evidence um, or like scientific backing whatsoever. Also, human beings are not like other species. Each species is different. And so, just because, for example, peacocks, the male is very colorful and bright and perhaps, shows his plumage to impress the female of the species, doesn't mean that human beings are the same way. So, you know, this just kind of annoys me when dating coaches do this.
to win the female for mating. So let's just say men and women of the human species are no different. And this is why when a man finds you attractive, when he
She says, let's just say they're no different, but uh, they are different. And she's not providing any kind of support for this claim that human beings are no different. I just hate it. I really, really hate it when dating coaches use pseudoscience, or when they talk about they make claims like this, make statements like this about something they know absolutely nothing about.
finds you physically compelling, he is going to try and make an effort to impress you at the start. This is why I tell my clients all the time that at the beginning, a man is literally showing up in his best behavior. So if a man is not even making an effort at the start, that is not a good sign, because a man who really likes you and is physically attracted to you, he's going to try and put up the best front in the beginning. And
So, yeah, so we're off to a strong start here. This is another one of these ideals, or one of these claims that feminine energy dating coaches will make, that they will sell to women, and which will encourage women to problematize their relationships and to see issues where issues may not even exist. Where they'll say, oh, well, if a man likes you, he's going to try and impress you at the start of a relationship. He's going to be putting his best behavior forward. He's you know going to be trying to win you over, and he's putting up his best front right at the start of a relationship. And they don't leave any this is really simplifying men down to these very, very basic kind of stereotypical creatures, and they don't leave any room for the idea that men are also authentic people in their own right, and that a man might just be being himself. They don't leave that as a possibility, that maybe a man is just being himself, and that he's also trying to that he might also be feeling maybe nervous or cautious, or that he's also just trying to get to know you. And and that a man might be a little bit shy, or he might be a little bit guarded, as many of us are when we start a relationship. And that a man might need time to open up and to warm up to you, as women do as well. A lot of women also need time to be able to trust the person and to open up, and to you know really kind of be able to show who they truly are. um and she's selling this idea that if a man is not coming on hot and heavy and trying to impress you, then something is wrong. And that just might not be the case. There are any number of reasons why a man might not be being flashy and coming on hot and heavy in the beginning. And it doesn't necessarily mean that something is wrong. you know to have a good relationship, or to create true connection, you have to get to know that person on their own terms, and you have to get to know them for who they are. And you can't use these standards and ideals by dating coaches like this to judge someone that you've just met. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's taking an idea that she's been taught, that men always try to impress women at the start, and she's running with it and she's presenting it to her audience as if it is a fact.
This could look like trying to impress you with the kind of dates he books, taking you to the best restaurants, making sure you notice that he has a cool car, showing off with his work achievements, showing off with his muscles. Men want to impress.
I find it fascinating the examples that she provides of a man trying to impress you, showing that he has a cool car, taking you to the best restaurants, showing off his muscles and bragging about his work achievements. That is her idea of a man trying to impress you. She doesn't say anything about a man being kind and respectful, about a man listening to you and trying to get to know you and asking you questions about yourself and taking an interest in you and being attentive and sensitive and um, you know, showing loyalty and showing that he cares, that he's a caring person, that he's kind, that that he's someone who's dependable and reliable. She only sees impressive behavior as all this superficial shit, like a cool car and big muscles and all that sort of thing. And I think that says a lot about her and about coaches like this when they say things like this.
Impress women, and especially if they find a woman appealing. If you are embodying your feminine energy, presenting yourself in your feminine, men are going to try so hard in the beginning to.
Notice again, she says if you are embodying your feminine energy and presenting yourself in your feminine. So, this is how they want women to be. And this is what I mean about encouraging women not to be authentic and encouraging women to put on an act and to be someone that they're not. You have to have this whole laundry list of behaviors and things that you're saying and doing in order to so-called embody your feminine energy. You cannot just be yourself. You have to be their version of what a feminine woman is. And this is the only way to guarantee that a man is going to do all these things to try and impress you. And right off the bat, you're sending the message to women that you, as yourself, as your authentic self, as who you are normally and naturally, and being yourself, that is not good enough to get a man to make an effort for you. You have to be somebody else.
Make an impression so that they can conquer you, so that they can win you, so that they can take you to bed and make amazing love to you. But if it's a good man,
Notice the words that she's using, so that he can conquer you and win you and take you to bed. This is how they see that dynamic between men and women. They see it as a dynamic of power and control and conquest. Make no mistake about it. That's what it's about. It's not about being authentic. It's not about being yourself. It's about um, playing into this power and control dynamic where you are kind of dominating one another in different ways. They're encouraging women to use mental and emotional and kind of feminine energy manipulative tactics, and they're portraying men as these kind of like overly masculine kind of um you know, primal creatures who are are just overcome with these masculine urges, and it's just this incredibly simplistic, incredibly shallow way of seeing the dynamic between men and women. And you, in this world of feminine energy dating advice, there is no real and true, authentic and honest connection. It's only this show. It's this act that they encourage you to put on. It's kind of like it's like a toxic ancient dance that they're encouraging you to perform.
that you're dealing with, he also wants to win your heart, your appreciation. He also wants to know that he is the best thing for you since sliced bread, and that you've never met a man as amazing as he is. This is all.
How does she know that? How does she know what a man is thinking when he meets a woman? it's just they just throw out these sorts of statements like they're nothing, like as if it's that you can just take it for granted. This is what he's thinking. He wants you to think of him as the most amazing man you've ever met, and that he's the best thing since since sliced bread, and he wants to be like the best man in the whole world in your eyes. How does she know that's what he's thinking? It's portraying men as so simplistic and so shallow and so one-dimensional. It just makes me so upset because I think of the wonderful men that I know who are complex human beings in their own right, who want to be loved and accepted and known for who they are. And this is how she characterizes men and the way that they think. It's just she knows what they're thinking. They're all thinking the same way. And, and she needs to format men into these puzzles, which you can, like a Rubik's Cube or like a little, like board game or something that you can just solve and you can just implement the right strategies and everything is going to go hunky dory. It's just, oh, so bad.
Wonderful. But why is it that men stop making an effort after the initial chase and after the initial trying to impress you? Well, there are two sets of reasons for this. The situational category reasons, if a man is disappearing on you or stopping the chase, I don't want you to blame yourself because these are literally reasons that are not in your control. So, some situation
She has to literally say, I don't want you to blame yourself. It's almost as if the default is that women are going to blame themselves. And why do women blame themselves? Well, it's partly because of coaches like this that encourage women to take an inordinate amount of responsibility when relationships don't work out. And so it's almost like she has to say, I don't want you to blame yourself, whilst at the same time sending the subtle message that women should blame themselves because there are things that they can be doing to 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 keep a relationship running smoothly. And so this is the contradiction with dating coaches like this, is that on the one hand, they'll say something that sounds like they're supportive of women, like I don't want you to blame yourself, and yet at the same time they're sending a mixed message or like a subliminal message underneath it, which is contradicting that, saying, well, you should be blaming yourself if you're not doing X, Y, and Z. So it all becomes, this is how your mind really gets royally fucked with when you listen to advice like this.
reasons are as follows. The first one is that he recognizes that he's not able to give you the kind of commitment you deserve. Maybe he has recognized that his career right now is truly his priority. And once he feels like you and him are growing together in attachment, this is when a reality check happens. This is when a wake up call happens. Okay, the girl is impressed. The girl can be won. The girl is interested in me. But can I really give her the commitment she wants? Can I really give her the attention she deserves? If the answer is no, he is going to stop chasing at this point. And honestly, this has nothing to do with you because you cannot control how somebody prioritizes a relationship in their life.
Just want to make the point, this is not bad advice. I don't have a problem with her saying this. But this could happen to anyone, men, women, non-binary person, doesn't really matter. Anyone can at any point in a relationship realize that they are not ready for commitment and that the other person does want commitment, and so the two of you are not on the same page about what you are looking for and trying to get out of this relationship. And so yes, at that point, a relationship will often end and that person will often start putting back their effort, because you know you guys are the two of you are not on the same page. But this, as I said, can happen with men or women. It's not like it really, really bothers me that she formats it as this is a male problem, that like a man is the only one who can decide he's not ready for commitment. Women also are sometimes at a point in their life where they're not ready for anything serious or where they're not ready to fully wholeheartedly commit to a relationship. And a lot of times a relationship will end at that point when either person is in that sort of a situation. But she doesn't acknowledge that women can also find themselves in a situation like that where they're not ready for a relationship. It's like the default is always that a woman wants marriage and commitment, and a man, may or may not be sure if he does. And so, although it's not incorrect what she's saying, it's not bad advice necessarily. I do hate it that she's characterizing it as a male only problem.
So, another reason, which is situational, that may happen is when a man recognizes that he's not truly ready for a relationship right now. And this has nothing to do with you. You could be the perfect girl. You could be embodied in your feminine energy, doing all the Sami Wunder tools.
Notice, notice what she expects, how she expects women to behave. The perfect girl, embodying your feminine energy and doing all of her tools. So, this is the sort of thing that I don't want you to miss when you're listening to dating advice like this. Um, she is saying, like, without lingering on it too long. So it's the sort of thing you could just miss, and it could just kind of be washing over you. But it's the sort of thing that can get embedded into your mind if you're consuming a lot of content like this. She's saying that you need to be the perfect girl, um, and that you need to embody your feminine energy, and that you need to be using the tools that she teaches. Now she's saying that because she has courses and products and books, and coaching packages to sell. And so she needs you to feel like there is something that you're not doing, that, maybe I'm not sure, she needs the audience to feel like, oh, maybe I'm not being the perfect woman. Maybe I'm not really embodying my feminine energy. And what are these Sami Wonder tools that she's talking about? I better go look into that and see what she's talking about. It's kind of, she's just slipping it in there because she wants to start sowing those seeds of self-doubt, that the only thing that's acceptable for you in your dating life is to be perfect, to be feminine, be in your feminine energy, and to be using her tools. And all of these dating coaches do this. They need you to feel less than. They need you to feel that who you are and how you are showing up when you're dating is not good enough. You can't just be yourself. You can't just be authentic. You can't just communicate openly and honestly. You have to be doing all of this, additional shit. And it makes me very, very upset because it is all just to try and sell you something. And it has the effect of making women feel as if they are not good enough. Um, and she's saying that even with all of that, she's kind of protecting herself, and she's saying even if you are perfect and you are doing all of this stuff that I say that you need to be doing, your relationship might still not work out, because he might not be ready for a relationship. And that's true, but that can work both ways. You know, a woman might also, as I mentioned before, might also not be in a place where she's ready for a relationship. Um, but again, she needs you to feel as if you have to work really, really hard to get to this kind of pinnacle of the ideal woman, that you need to be the perfect, perfect woman so that you can be sure that you're not dropping the ball in some way and that it is actually him. This is all about keeping you on a hamster wheel of purchasing more coaching and purchasing more products.
You could be learning from my programs, showing up as a diva, and he could still suddenly recognize that this.
Again, learning from my programs. She wants you to buy her programs. She wants you to buy her courses and her coaching products. And she talks about showing up as a diva. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, when I think about the expression showing up as a diva, I think of someone who is really high maintenance. And I think of someone who is trying way too hard to present themselves as someone that they're not, as not authentic. And it sounds to me as if it's, to me anyway, the idea of showing up as a diva is totally unappealing to me. But let me know what you guys think of when you hear the expression showing up as a diva. But this is what she teaches. She's going to teach you to show up as a diva. And of course, because she's a feminine energy dating coach, she teaches women to have this very kind of princess-like persona that and that this is the only acceptable way to be as a woman. It's very toxic, it's very harmful, and I need you, well, I really hope you can see it for the bullshit that it is.
This is not something he's looking for in his life. It doesn't speak anything about you. It speaks about his priorities in his life. And unfortunately, sometimes men will chase women at the start for the fun of the chase, for the dopamine hit, for testing and evaluating if they can really win you over. But when they start to see that you are really a wife material woman, that is exactly when they will step back, because this is about them. This is about them realizing I am
Both men and women will do this. This is not a bad point that she's making. You know, sometimes in dating, both men and women are just in it just for the validation and to feel good about themselves. Maybe they've been through a heartbreak. Maybe they're feeling low, and getting all this attention from other people, you know, makes them feel good about themselves, and they're not actually serious or not actually wanting anything with anybody. So this is something to be aware of and to be careful of if you are dating. But both men and women do this. It's not just men. And yeah, hopefully it will reveal itself that they're not looking for something serious. And hopefully people are having honest conversations about this kind of thing, so that people are not getting too badly hurt.
not really looking for anything serious. And so you could be the right person in their life at the wrong time. So this is a situational reason again, because of which a man will withdraw, but it has nothing to do with you. Now, another reason, which is situational, why a man may stop the chase is because he feels like he needs to focus on other aspects of his life right now that take away his time and attention from having and supporting a real relationship. It could be because he's having major family issues. It could be because his mom and dad are divorcing, maybe in a health crisis. Maybe he's in a health crisis. Maybe he's in a financial crisis. Maybe he is in some kind of identity crisis. Now, none of this has anything to do with you. You could again be an amazing woman, totally worth the chase, but these are all reasons as to why a man will stop the chase, stop pursuing a woman when
Again, those same reasons could go for men or women or anyone in between. It's not only men who go through a work crisis or identity crisis or issues with their family or with parents divorcing or anything like that. And so, again, I hate the way she is portraying women as kind of this blank slate that have nothing going on in their life aside from a relationship, and men as these people who have all these potential issues that could be going on. That could happen on both sides of the relationship spectrum. You know, both either partner could be going through issues which could make them not ready for a relationship, and there's no reason to categorize these as purely men's issues. Unless, of course, you have something to gain by polarizing men and women in this way, which, of course, these dating coaches always do.
he has a recognition of his incapability to give you the kind of relationship you deserve. So, those are the situational reasons. And if you find that men are withdrawing from you, it could be because of these situational reasons. I so wish men would openly communicate with women that this is what's going on for them. But the sad truth is that a lot of the times, even healthy, empowered men will not communicate this truth to you. And the way they will communicate with you
Um, Again, this goes for both men and women. I feel like I need to keep saying this because she's not going to. She's going to format this as a male only problem, you know, the lack of communication. Both men and women, hopefully, should be communicating openly and honestly in dating. If something is going on in their lives which makes them unable to, enter into a relationship or put in the efforts and investment into the other person, hopefully, there's honest and clear and authentic communication going on. And of course, we know if you've been in the dating world for any length of time, you know that people don't always communicate honestly and openly and clearly. And there is a lot of subterfuge and misunderstanding and miscommunication going on. But both men and women, I would, I do agree with her that I would love to see more open and clear and honest communication, but by both men and women. There's no reason to make this only a male issue.
is basically by reducing their effort for you. Now, let's talk about the other set of reasons. If you've made it so far, you're a smart woman, because this is where really you can influence things. If men keep dropping out, if your partner keeps reducing his effort, this is the stuff you want to focus on.
And this is the really problematic shit where this is where dating coaches can really do a lot of damage, where they're encouraging women to take far more responsibility for things going wrong in the relationship, and specifically for the lack of effort that their partner is making, than is healthy. They're encouraging women to play these games and to implement strategies and to be inauthentic and to be someone that they're not in order to try and influence how their partner is behaving. And it's super, super toxic and unhealthy.
So these are the reasons where, because of the way you are showing up, a man is stopping his chase for you. A man is reducing his effort for you. Now, don't blame yourself. Just learn from what I'm about to say because you have massive influence.
Don't blame yourself, but also you're doing something wrong. Do you see the contradiction? Do you see the cognitive dissonance that you have in order to follow a coach like this? Don't blame yourself, but also blame yourself because you're doing something wrong.
On this part. And if you can up level the way you show up when it comes to these two reasons that I'm about to give you, I can guarantee you that men will not stop chasing you and they will keep coming after you and they will keep making an effort for you, whether
She cannot guarantee that. And I really, really hate it when they say, I can guarantee you that. Because what they're doing when they say, I can guarantee you that a man will not stop chasing you if you do these two things that I'm about to tell you about. When they say that, I can guarantee you X, Y, or Z, what they're doing is they're setting themselves up as the expert. Well, I'm the expert. I can provide this guarantee. And if this thing that I'm guaranteeing you doesn't happen, it must mean there's a problem with you, not with the promise that I'm making or with the tools that I'm teaching you or with the situation in general. The problem has to be you because I've made the guarantee, my systems work, my strategies work, so the problem has to be you. And this is where the self-doubt and the toxic thought patterns and the loops of toxic relationships comes in, where a woman is encouraged to feel that, well, if this isn't working for me, if this strategy isn't working for me, it must be me because she's guaranteed me that this works and she must know what she's talking about. So it must be me. Um, and I have seen women fall into this trap. I you wouldn't think it necessarily, but I know because I was in these groups with women who were following this sort of advice. And I befriended um, a few different women who had been in long-term toxic relationships with men. And I'm talking about 7, 8, 9, 10 years with the same man who is not committing to them, not making an effort for them, treating them poorly, cheating on them, just, stringing them along. And they were unable to extricate themselves from those relationships because they kept consuming dating content like this, which got them to think that there was something that they could do to change the situation and that it must be them. And if they could only show up as more feminine and more, doing more of these sorts of tools, that they could change the situation. And it was just absolutely heartbreaking. Um, so just wanted to say that before we get into what she's about to share with us.
whether you're just getting to know them or you are already in a long term relationship with them. So, reason number one, a man will stop chasing a woman, which is under your control, is when he doesn't feel the emotional connection developing. Now, you could be a physically attractive woman, you could be looking after your appearance, you could be doing the Sami Wunder programs and showing up in your feminine energy. But if you are not open and vulnerable, if you are somebody who struggles with sharing your feelings, sharing your emotions with men, receiving help from men, receiving support from men, or just overall receiving from men, what's going to happen is that in early dating, a man will be feeling like he's missing something with you. So he might be like, oh, she's really attractive. Oh, she's so well educated. She's a good person, but I just don't feel it for her.
So I wanted to stop it there because there's an awful lot to unpack in what she's just said. Um, the first thing she said is that a man might stop his effort because you are not being vulnerable. You're not opening up about your feelings. He's not feeling the emotional connection. Now, notice in what she says, she puts the responsibility squarely on the woman, in the woman's lap, for creating and nurturing the emotional connection in the relationship. She's not giving any responsibility to the man for him opening up about his feelings and being vulnerable. It's all on the woman. The woman in this feminine energy dating world, women are expected to be constantly sharing their feelings, which I personally just found really unnatural. When I was doing it, they will tell you that you're supposed to share your feelings about everything. Oh, I feel so happy that it's a sunny day. Oh, I felt so touched because a bird landed on my window. Oh, I felt so full and satisfied because I had this hamburger for dinner. It's you're just supposed to be sharing your feelings all the time. According to these feminine energy dating coaches, you're just supposed to be, I feel, I feel, I feel, I feel all the time. It's really unnatural. It sounds really, really forced. It feels really forced when you're doing it. But this is what you're supposed to do. And if you don't do it, you're kind of shamed, as in, oh, well, you're just emotionally closed off. You're not sharing yourself with a man. Um, and there's no kind of responsibility placed on the man. Women are not encouraged to expect that they can receive the same kind of emotional openness from the man that they're dating. Men are, in this whole feminine energy dating world, men are seen as these creatures who can't open up emotionally, who don't have to open up emotionally, and that's just not what men do. And it's up to women to be constantly sharing our feelings. But in a healthy relationship, you know, a healthy human being, whether you're male or female, it does involve some measure of being able to be open and vulnerable. Not to the extent where you're literally like sharing every single feeling and every kind of thought that ever pops into your head, but like where you're sharing about important stuff. And that goes for men and women. You know, if 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 you are a woman in a relationship with a man, you do have a right to expect that the man shares important feelings with you and that he shares what's going on with you. And we do, both men and women can support and encourage one another to open up. It's not just women who are supposed to be um, emotionally open, and it's not just women who are solely to blame if the emotional connection is not there. So I really, really hate that, and I hope I've explained that clearly enough, that both men and women have a responsibility to nurture the emotional connection in a relationship. And if the emotional connection is not there, doesn't automatically mean that that's the woman's fault. Nor does it mean that she's supposed to be sharing every little feeling that she ever experiences without ever receiving emotional openness and vulnerability in return. Men also need to learn to be emotionally open and vulnerable, and it's on both partners in the relationship to nurture the emotional connection. But feminine energy dating coaches will have you believe that if there's no emotional connection, that as a woman is your fault. The second thing she talks about, and she just kind of glosses over it, and she might be going into it in a bit more detail, is the idea of receiving from a man. Now, feminine energy dating coaches are very big on this whole receiving idea, that the best thing that you as a woman can do is receive. And if you're not able to receive, that a man will be turned off if you can't receive. But again, this is so unhealthy because it just encourages women are supposed to be really, really passive in this whole world of feminine energy dating. You're supposed to just be passive, and a man is just meant to be giving to you, and you're just receiving and receiving and receiving. But that, just for me anyway, it just felt really unnatural to not ever be doing anything or not initiating. I also like to give, and I also like to initiate and be proactive sometimes. And men also like to receive care and love and attention as well. It should be reciprocal. And some people do have a little bit of a difficulty receiving help or receiving excessive attention from others, and it doesn't necessarily mean there's something wrong with that. I, you know, can sometimes feel a little bit uncomfortable if I'm in the limelight too much, or if I don't always feel comfortable with tons and tons of help and people doing lots of things to me. It can make me feel a little bit awkward, and that's okay. That's just who I am, and it's okay to be that way. But again, feminine energy dating coaches will make women feel as if there's something wrong with you if you can't just sit there and passively just receive, 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 receive. And this is another way that they tinker with, you know, who you are authentically, and they encourage you to be this persona, this feminine energy persona that they've crafted. Um, and they make you feel as if you can't do that, then you are putting your relationship at risk, and that if your relationship goes wrong in some way, it could be because of this reason.
And empowered masculine men tend to be very black and white about this. They're either feeling it for you and they're either feeling like the connection is deepening with you and growing with you, or they are feeling like you are at a stalemate with them. And even though everything is right on the surface, if he just doesn't feel it, he's going to stop the chase. He's going to stop making an effort.
Notice she said empowered masculine men are like this, and they're very black and white about it. A, she doesn't know that. She is not in the mind of every man. B, what on earth is an empowered masculine man? I'd like to know. I'd love to see them define what an empowered masculine man is, which they rarely do because it's such a ridiculous concept. Um, and secondly, women can also be like this. As I said, I think I'm going to keep saying this, but women can also be either feeling it or not feeling it for someone that they're dating. And I think we all know this. If you're a woman, you will almost certainly have experienced that. You go on a date with someone, or you're dating someone for a little bit of time, and you're just either feeling it for them or you're not feeling it for them. And this is not just a purely male issue. Again, they have to polarize men and women in these very extreme ways, and use words like an empowered masculine man. Like, what does that even mean? But women can also have that, where they're either feeling it for someone or they're not. So just want you to notice the loaded language that she's using as well.
For you. Now, the reason why this is under your control is because so many women have traumas and childhoods where they learn to suppress their emotions. And so, if you can develop the skill of working on your emotional expression and working on your vulnerability and your ability to show your vulnerability, then this is a reason you can avoid. Because if you
Like I said, these feminine energy dating coaches will encourage excessive emotional expression and excessive what they call vulnerability on the part of women. But really, it's just sharing every little feeling and every little kind of observation that you make by I feel, I feel, I feel, I feel. That's their idea of what a feminine woman is. There's for them, it's all just kind of like spewing and vomiting out all your emotions and just like laying them all bare. And in their world, that's what a man is supposed to find really attractive. There's no sort of room for being reserved. Like this is something that really messed with me personally and with my mind, because I'm more of like a reserved person. I'm more of a private person, and for me it takes a little bit of time to really get to the point of comfort with someone where I can share a lot of my feelings about things. I have to be in a situation where I'm really comfortable doing that, and it has to be someone that I'm very comfortable with. I'm not just going to be sharing vulnerabilities and childhood traumas like what she's saying, or all my feelings. I'm not going to be doing that right off the bat with someone that I've started dating. That's going to take time for me to build up that trust and that comfort with that person. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is perfectly valid. But in the world of these feminine energy dating coaches, that's not valid. You have to be just forcing yourself to always be emotionally open and emotionally expressive. And if you don't, you have this fear in the back of your mind that that man is not going to be emotionally connected to you, and that he's just going to go running and he's going to stop chasing you and he's going to leave, because that's the fear that they create, and that's the fear that they generate in women. That if you don't feel comfortable, if you're not able to just be like spewing out all of your emotions, your relationship is at risk. And it's just not true.
can show up with more openness and emotional expression and emotional vulnerability with men, men will not disappear on you. They will keep coming for you. Just this morning,
She can't guarantee that, but she's going to make the claim and she's going to make the statement as though she can guarantee it, even though she can't. She cannot guarantee a specific outcome in the relationships of everyone in her audience. She can't. But coaches like this will do this with no hint of shame or irony whatsoever. They will make bold claims like this. He will keep chasing you because they need you to buy their products. And that's what it's about.
for example, I shared with my husband that a major launch of my program, Elevate, is coming, and I feel stressed and I feel like a little burdened. And just like a hero, he stood up, he said, "Let's make time. I want to support you. What is it that you need?" And it really means that because of my emotional openness and because of my emotional vulnerability, my man, who is like married to me for 11 years, still works for me, still pours into me, still chases me. And that's because I have this.
I'm just going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say anyone who uses the expression poured into, which is something that they're big on using in MLMs, it's an immediate red flag if someone uses that expression. Poured into just gives me the ick. But okay, so a couple of things. First of all, she kind of name dropped her Elevate program, which, as I said right at the start of this video, it's all about selling programs, courses, products for these people. That's what it's all about. She wants you to have heard that and to go to her website and check out what is this Elevate program that she's talking about. That coach, that awful MLM coach, Ray Higdon, calls it a high profit mumble, where a coach will just like drop in some sort of comment into what they're saying in order to try and pique your curiosity and in order to get you to go and do some investigation and look into what this little thing that they've said. And it's all about making sales for themselves. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, she's presenting her own marriage as being this sort of relationship where she can just kind of unburden herself to her husband and say, "I'm just really stressed and worried about this." And that's perfectly fine. And that's normal to do in any relationship. I hope that he also has that same freedom and safety to do that with her, and that he's also able to share about things that he's struggling with, and that that he has feelings about, and that he's also able to get support, because it should be reciprocal in a healthy relationship. Both people should be able to go to their partner and say, "Well, I'm stressed about this," or "I'm struggling with this," and they should be able to go and get help and support and comfort from their partner. But in the world of feminine energy dating, it's only women who are supposed to express their feelings, and men are supposed to just be there to kind of support and chase and initiate and do things. And don't get me wrong, a lot of men do enjoy being problem solvers, and they do a lot of, a good man often is very kind of supportive and caring and nurturing. But again, as I say, hopefully, um, if you're in an equal, healthy, happy, healthy relationship, then you are providing that level of support for him as well. Both people should be providing each other with support. It's not all just one way. Um, so just wanted to point that out too.
The skill of emotional openness and vulnerability. And the good news is, I teach the stuff in my Elevate program. So it is not something that you can't learn, or it is not something you can't master if you struggle with this. And a lot.
What did I tell you? It's about selling her program ultimately. So she has spent a lot of this video setting this up, generating the fear about a man pulling away and not chasing you anymore, and about your relationship kind of disintegrating. And now it's all working up to this point where she's going to provide the solution. She has this program where you can learn how to be emotionally open and expressive. And I'll just save you any kind of time and money that you might have been thinking of investing into this program, and tell you what it's about. All it is with these feminine energy dating coaches is just teaching you to say, "I feel." constantly 100 times a day. I feel this, I feel that, I feel the next thing. I feel. That's all that it is. That's all that they teach you how to do. And I know this because I consumed a lot of content from Rori Raye dating coaches back in the day. And that's what it's all about. It's just, they call them feeling statements. And they teach you to use them all the time. So save your money, save your time, don't bother with it. Unless you are someone who really does need to and want to learn how to say, I feel, I feel, I feel, I feel all the time. And I don't think anyone really needs to learn that. But hey, to each their own, I guess.
A lot of my high achieving and ambitious women clients struggle with emotional openness and vulnerability. So, this is one reason why a man will stop chasing, both in dating and inside a relationship. Because if he doesn't feel your emotional openness and your vulnerability, he feels not needed. He feels like there is nothing he can do for you. It feels like your emotional connection is not deep enough. And this is where men
Another thing I will say is that coaches like this will teach you the superficial skills of just saying, I feel, I feel, I feel, but they won't teach you to go deeper and to examine why it is. If emotional openness and vulnerability is something that you truly struggle with, whether you're a man or a woman, coaches like this are not actually equipped, nor will they go deeper with you to figure out why you might struggle with vulnerability and openness, or like why the emotional openness might not be there in your relationship. And a lot of the times it has to do with much bigger and more important things like trust and respect and love and feeling cared for and really feeling safe in your relationship. You can't just come into an emotionally unsafe relationship where the trust isn't there, where it hasn't been built, and where your relationship is not at necessarily at a point. Maybe it's too early in the relationship to be excessively sharing your feelings. And you can't just come in and impose and just start like blanket, you know, just without thinking, just sharing feeling statements. A lot of the time it's the trust and the respect really needs to be, and the love needs to be built up over time. And then the emotional openness and vulnerability comes naturally as a result of that. But coaches like that are not going to tell you that because it doesn't result in instant sales for them, which is all they care about. They want you to buy their books and programs so that they can teach you how to say, I feel, I feel, I feel. But they're not necessarily going to teach you how to build trust and respect and how to create strong and, truly authentic relationships over the long term, that where that emotional openness and vulnerability is going to come a lot more naturally. So just wanted to point that out as well.
will stop investing in you. And the second reason, which you can control as a woman, is never giving a man the feeling that he has won you over and that he is the most amazing person in your life, and that you will leave all your hobbies and your plans and you will over accommodate and you will do anything for him. Never give any man that impression, because
So this is where I think it takes a really dark turn and where it becomes really kind of toxic and insidious. Is she's giving women advice not to let a man feel like he is super wonderful, like he's the best thing in her life, and never. In other words, what she's saying is, don't ever let a man get too comfortable. And I really hate this because, again, it's just so inauthentic. It's saying you can never just relax and be yourself in a relationship, and you can never just be real and honest and authentic with your partner. What if you really do feel like your partner is the most wonderful person in the world? What if they are really your favorite person? You can never show that in this whole world of feminine energy dating advice. And if you're following a coach like this, she is going to strongly caution you against doing that. You always have to kind of keep him guessing, keep him chasing, keep him on his toes, is what she's really saying, is the subtext here. Because if you don't, he's going to grow bored, he's going to grow complacent, he's going to stop chasing you, and your relationship is going to be done for. Again, it's sowing that fear. It's encouraging this inauthentic behavior. It's encouraging women to put on an act, to be kind of coy, and to keep to keep a man chasing, keep a man on his toes, and it's being presented as if it's a good thing, even though it's super inauthentic. It's super manipulative, um, and it's not fair to the man either. It's not fair to the woman. It's not fair to either person because neither of them get to just relax and be themselves and actually feel comfortable in the relationship, just feel content. It's always got to be these very high stakes. Um, and also notice the contradiction as well. I just had to point it out. At the start of the video, she said in early dating, a man needs to feel like he's the most amazing, wonderful man that you've ever met. And so you have to help him feel that way. But here she's directly contradicting herself and saying you can't let a man feel as if he's the most amazing, wonderful guy in the world, because then he'll get complacent and stop chasing you. Do you notice the contradiction? Do you notice the mental gymnastics that she's encouraging you to play with yourself, and the hoops that you have to jump through in order to in order to follow this kind of advice? And it's all nonsense. It's all just to get you hooked into a particular way of thinking so that you will continue to buy her courses and programs and coaching.
So often, when women are getting obsessed and over attached with men, they express their love by making the man the center of their universe. And this is when men stop chasing. This is when a man feels, okay, I've won her. There is nothing else to do. I don't have to keep making an effort to have her around. She is impressed. She is won. And there's nothing more I need to do in order to impress her and win her. This is the worst feeling and the lost feeling you want to give a man, especially if you are just getting to know him. I can understand within a relationship or a marriage, of course, you both have explicitly chosen each other, and of course, you both are committed to each other and love each other. But even there, you don't want to give your husband or your boyfriend the impression that you're going to over accommodate his needs, you're going to abandon your own needs, that all the focus is on him and his needs, and you don't have.
So I just want to make comments about this because, as with a lot of these dating coaches, there's good stuff mixed in with very toxic stuff, and we see the same thing with Matthew Hussey. Is there's a little bit of good stuff, and then there's a lot of toxic stuff as well. So she's talking about over accommodating your partner, making them the center of your universe, putting their needs ahead of your own. There's nuance to this, okay? Because in any healthy relationship, there are going to there are going to be times where you have to be selfless and where you do have to put your partner first because their needs are going to come ahead of yours. If your partner's really sick, for example, if they need you to step up for them in some way, there are going to be times when sometimes you do need to put your own needs on the back burner for a short period of time in order to put them first because they need you to step up. Hopefully that's always a short-term thing, and you can't you always do it's a balancing act. You need to prioritize yourself as well. Obviously you always need to prioritize self-care because you can't pour from an empty cup. And hopefully your partner is also doing that for you when you need them to step up. There might also be times when they need to put their own needs on the back foot, so that they can show up for you as well. So it's kind of she's presenting it as this very rigid thing where you can never over accommodate your partner or never put their needs above yours. And it's just, life is just not like that. It's more like in a healthy relationship there's a flow, a back and forth, where you're it's not so rigid like that. It's it's more like you're doing your best to support one another, um and to be there for one another and to help one another. But of course, no, like, of course, you should never abandon your own needs and your own things that are important to you. It's very important to make time for that as well. But equally, if this is someone that you're married to, if you're in a long-term relationship, if this is someone that you've chosen, then they are a very important person in your life. And, you know, scientifically, biologically, we do get attached to this person. and they do play a very important role in our well-being, and we play an important role in their well-being, and it is normal to want to spend a lot of time with them and to prioritize them and to try and help them and support them. That is normal. Unfortunately, as a society, we've and coaches like this feed into this. We've been sold a very damaging kind of toxic idea that it is wrong to depend on other people or to depend on our partner, and that's not true. We do need one another, and we do need, you know, we do need to prioritize one another at times, and at the same time we also need to prioritize self-care, and obviously we need to balance it against the other things that we have going on in our lives, our other hobbies and interests and passions and priorities. It's a balancing act. But she will have you believe that there is just one simple, straight, rigid path. And it involves never giving your partner, your husband, the idea that he is too important. It's always about keeping him unsteady and keeping him kind of uncertain and a little bit insecure so that he keeps chasing after you. And that's just not good. That is, there's a whole conversation to be had about not taking your partner for granted, and that goes both ways. But again, like that should be something you should be able to communicate about clearly and openly and truthfully, and you shouldn't have to be playing these games. And in any kind of loving relationship, as I've said, you do at times need to prioritize your partner, and you do at times need to be selfless. But then there's also a time for looking after yourself and prioritizing yourself, and that's going to look slightly different for each person and each relationship. And this whole idea that she's selling you, that you just kind of need to keep your husband chasing and keep him guessing and keep him feeling like he's not super important, is super super toxic. That's not right. It's really unhealthy. I mean, I kind of tried to implement this for the period of time in my life that I was following this feminine energy dating advice, and it's so bad because um it's as soon as you kind of drop the ball as such, and you actually kind of let down your guard and you stop playing these games, and you're actually kind of more normal and healthy, and and you're just yourself in a relationship, then the whole, the your partner gets really confused, and it's this act that you have to continuously keep up, and you have to also be with a person who is happy to also be continuously playing this game with you. Neither of you can ever just truly be yourselves. And I think it's not worth it. It's going to lead to a situation where either you're never able to be yourself, or your partner is going to grow very miserable in the long run. And I personally just don't believe these dating coaches who claim to have relationships where they implement these tools, and where it all works out wonderfully. I don't believe them. I don't believe that's how it really is in her marriage. I think either her marriage is not as great as she says it is, or um, it's not really like this behind the scenes. But she needs you to believe that it is, so that you'll buy her products and her coaching. So that's what I think about all of that. Let me know what you think. If you want to put your own thoughts about all of this in the comments, I'd welcome your input as well.
needs, and it's all about pleasing him, because that is where, even within a marriage or a relationship, the effort of the partner will fall. And this is such a subconscious thing that happens. And of course, in dating, you don't.
And again, she is truly making you feel as if it is within your power to control the amount of effort that your partner is putting into the relationship or the marriage. She's making the woman feel as if she can actually influence or control how much um, effort her husband or partner is actually putting in. And that just by kind of deprioritizing him and making him less important and making him feel a little bit uncertain and not prioritizing him, that this is going to somehow have this kind of like fire, lighting a fire under him kind of effect, where he's going to suddenly just start like chasing and like making all this effort. And it's just, it's it's so manipulative, a, to think that you can do that, and it's so misleading to sell women on this idea that that is actually within their power, because I can honestly tell you that for a lot of women who are putting this advice into practice to the best of their ability, it's so confusing and misleading anyway, but those women who are actually trying to follow this advice, and then they're still in relationships where their partner is taking them for granted and not putting in the effort, they're going to feel like they need to blame themselves, because this coach, Sami Wunder, has told them that this is within my power to control. I can control how much effort my partner is putting in. And so if he's not putting in effort, that must mean it's my fault. It couldn't possibly mean that he is his own autonomous person who can make his own decisions. He has his own thoughts and feelings and motives, and he is the master of his own destiny, and that he chooses his own actions and decisions, and that if he is behaving a particular way, it might have nothing whatsoever to do with me. No, it must be what Sami Wunder is saying, and I must be making him too important. It's just, it's such nonsense. It's so bad. It's so harmful. And I've seen, as I said earlier in the video, I have seen how this plays out with women who blame themselves and get stuck in toxic relationships for years with men who are not making an effort. I'm sure the reverse happens with men as well, who are with women that are not making an effort. They blame themselves and think that there's something that they must be able to do to change this, or to make their partner value them more and to make more of an effort. And it's just not the case. If you're with a partner who is not prioritizing you, who's not making an effort, who's not investing in the relationship, where you feel really taken for granted and it's hurting you, have a conversation with your partner. Have multiple conversations, however many conversations you want to have. Um, and if it's still not, if it's still not working, then consider walking away from that relationship, or pulling back from that relationship, and finding someone else. It's not your fault. I don't want to put myself in the position now of giving relationship advice. That's not what I'm trying to do with my channel. But I do just want to encourage you not to blame yourself if if you find yourself stuck in a relationship with a partner who's not prioritizing you or making an effort. And please, please, please do away with this nonsense toxic idea that a man has got to be chasing you forever and ever and ever, otherwise there's something wrong. It's just not true.
Want to give a man the impression that he's won you. You don't want to give him the impression that he can text you once a week and it's enough. He can just book you once every 2 weeks and it's enough. You don't want to give that
Well, it's kind of extreme what she's talking about. On the one hand, she's talking about a man constantly chasing you, and then she's talking about a man who texts you once a week or sees you once every 2 weeks. It's kind of like it's these two extremes. She's not talking about any of the kind of more any of the in between, which is I think where most of us find ourselves, where it's just like a very normal behavior. It's like they've got to present it in these very extreme scenarios. Either he's like chasing you and constantly coming after you, or he's only seeing you once every 2 weeks, and there's no middle ground. It's just, again, this is the strategy that they use to kind of bolster their advice and to make it sound more credible.
impression. You always want to know your worth. You always want to feel like a queen. You always want to know what you deserve and what you're worthy of. And you want to
What is this obsession, by the way, that these dating coaches have with feeling like a queen? Why do we all need to feel like queens? Maybe someone can explain this to me, because I can honestly say I have never once in my life felt the need to be treated like a queen or feel like a queen. I mean, I understand it's just an expression that's kind of used to talk about being well treated by your partner, but why does it have to be so extreme? Why do we have to be like this, like all powerful monarch of a, a queen is the head of a state, of a country, or of a queendom or a kingdom. Why does it have to be this extreme shit? Why can we not just be like a normal human being who is being loved and respected and well treated by our partners? I don't understand why it has to be like you have to be a queen. I mean, I just think it's ridiculous.
Reflect that energy in your dating life and even inside a relationship, because it is so important that a man never feels that he's won you, and this is something in your control.
That's right. Even uh, even if you are married to a man, even if you guys are have been married for 25 years, you have 3 kids together, you have a mortgage and you share your lives, he can never feel like he's won you. I mean, what does this even mean? Like, how would this even work in practice? What a ridiculous statement. If you are in a committed long-term relationship, you've been together for a long time, and you share your lives, like, what does that even mean? He can never feel like he's won you. I guarantee you this is some real bullshit. And I guarantee you her husband, like, what are you going to do? I mean, there's no way that she in her marriage is like keeping her husband guessing, like, oh, does he have me, does he not have me, maybe I might leave tomorrow, maybe I might like run off with the pool boy. I mean, what does that even mean? It's like, won you. What are you supposed to be constantly issuing threats to your husband? Oh, like, I might leave you. Don't feel like I'm actually going to stay in this relationship, because I might just be off tomorrow. I might just decide that I've had enough of you, mister. I mean, what the fuck? It's so silly, it's so ridiculous, and trying to implement this sort of advice can literally drive you insane.
If you are somebody who becomes a man pleaser the minute you like a man, you stop caring about your own feelings, you start caring about his feelings, you stop giving yourself the respect that you know you deserve, and you start making
That might have been a mistake. That might have been like some sort of Freudian slip or something, but she said you start caring about his feelings. So let's rewind that actually, because can I rewind? Oh, I'm not going to rewind it. But she said you start caring about his feelings. So she actually expects, this is something that I've been saying, but like, she's actually said it explicitly now, that you are not supposed to even care about his feelings. He's supposed to be so unimportant to you that your feelings are supposed to be the only things that matter, and that you are not even supposed to care about his feelings. I think it was kind of a Freudian slip. I don't think she necessarily meant to be so on the nose, but that is truly what these feminine energy dating coaches believe. They believe a man doesn't have to share his feelings. You don't have to care about his feelings. His only job is to chase you, and your job is to just stand there and just like share your feelings. And then he has to care about your feelings, but you don't have to care about his. Or it's all just jumbled up. It's all confusing. It's convoluted, and as I said, trying to implement this sort of advice, trying to create a healthy, loving, happy relationship using this sort of advice will literally drive you insane. It is impossible. And this is all just to get you to buy their products, their programs, their courses. That's all it's about. It's not meant to make any sense.
him the center of your world. This is something that you can totally avoid by being careful about it and by actively working on yourself and doing the inner work to elevate your self concept, to elevate the way you see yourself, to elevate the way you know you deserve to be.
And again, like many coaches, many kind of self development, personal development coaches, it's all about developing yourself. It's all about investing more and more money and more time and effort into self development, buying more courses, buying more programs, buying more coaching. That's what it's all about. And they really do try to brainwash you into believing that if you can just develop yourself enough and just invest enough in developing yourself, that you can have the relationship that you've always wanted. And it's just an endless hamster wheel that they want you to be going on for the rest of your life.
treated, and always holding your partner, your boyfriend, your dates to those standards. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to give me a like, a comment, subscribe to my channel.
So I've had enough of that for now, I think. What did you guys think? What do you guys think of feminine energy dating advice in general? I'm keen to know your thoughts. As I said, I was kind of trapped in this world for a long time. And so I know firsthand how it can truly mess with your mind. And I saw it mess with the minds of the women that I befriended in these groups. And that's why I'm speaking out about it and why I'm trying to raise awareness about how harmful and problematic this sort of content is. And I really just want you to be super careful. Be super careful with your mental health, with your heart, with your relationships. Always defer to your own intuition. I don't even want you to trust anything when I say trust, I mean I don't even want you to take anything that I say as being the final word. Please don't. I'm not the authority on any of this. It's always your own feelings and always do what's right for you and defer to your own intuition and your own discernment and judgment. That's what's ultimately going to to lead you in the direction that you need to go. Gosh, I've been speaking for a long time. So anyway, let me know your thoughts. Hope you enjoyed this discussion, and I'll see you next time. Bye everyone, and take care of yourselves.